Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we have been challenged to create an educational video. And so I took a little while to think about what exactly I wanted to educate you guys on. And then the answer just kind of fell right in front of my face. As a certified medical professional, I am a nurse and have been for the last 2.5 years. I thought I might be perfectly qualified to teach you guys about heart health. So today, without further ado, we're going to be talking about the old ticker. Ta-da! The anatomy of the heart and other important heart stuff, presented by none other than me. That's right, today we are going to be talking about the heart. And I thought it would be really cool to discuss why the heart is so important, all the parts of the heart, what they do, and talk a little bit about heart health in general. The heart is one of the most vital organs in the body. Without it, you would die. So, can't have that happen. Here's some important things to think about. So, number one, the average adult heart is about the size of a fist, and it weighs between 9 and 12 ounces. Take your hand and ball it into a fist. That is about the average size of your heart. I want you to think about when you get a steak, like a filet mignon, and they ask you, do you want a petite, like a 4 or a 6 ounce? Do you want an 8 ounce? Once you get past that 8 ounce mark, pick up that steak. That's how heavy your heart is. Fun fact number 2, over a lifetime, the heart pumps an estimated 2.5 billion gallons of blood. I don't know about you, but the first thing I think of is the Hoover Dam and all that water that's built up behind it. And then I think about that being blood. And then I think about the Hoover Dam exploding and all of it's just blood. And I really can't explain to you why that's my thought process. Maybe I'm a serial killer, who knows? Or a psychopath. Fun fact number 3, the heart continues to beat even after it's removed from the body, as long as it has oxygen. And it'll continue to beat, which is super weird if you think about it, which is why I try hard not to think about it that much. Moving on, where even is the heart? The human heart is located in the thoracic cavity of the chest, specifically in the mediastinum. So I want you to look at your body and I want you to go right towards the middle of your neck. I want you to take that and go all the way down. You're gonna feel a notch right in the middle. That's where your clavicle is, or your collarbone. That's the beginning and the middle of it. And then you're gonna keep going down and you're gonna feel this hard bone right here in the middle. This is your mediastinum. Your mediastinum basically is exactly what it sounds like, the middle of the sternum. That hard bone right in the center of your chest is called the sternum. The media, which is the middle, is the middle of your sternum. And so the middle would be right around here. The mediastinum is the central region of the thoracic cavity. This is your thoracic cavity, everything that is in your torso. And so in the central region, which is right around here, the central region of the thoracic cavity is where your human heart is located, right between the 2 pleural cavities that house the lungs. Here's lung number 1, lung number 2. And then there's this sexy little space right in the middle. That is where the heart is located. Notice how it's not perfectly centered. It is actually a little off to the side, slightly to the left of the midline of the chest. Next, what's the role of the heart? What's the main role of the heart? Well, the heart is a muscular organ that plays a crucial role in the circulatory system that moves all of your blood throughout your body. So I want you to think of it like this. Take your hand and open it flat like this, and then take it and squish it like a fist. Now, in between this area, I want you to imagine that you have one of those old school 90s freeze pop. I want you to imagine there is one horizontal in your hand and it's open from both sides. Now, when you squeeze it, what do you think happens to all the icy inside? It's gonna get ejected out the sides. It's going to propulse, which is a fancy word for move, through that icy tube. And you just go, and you keep doing that. And that's what your heart does. And every time it does that, it takes the blood that is in there and it propulses it along. So it's resting, squeezing, resting. I know that this looks really funny and hella suggestive. Hey, yo. But that's what the heart is doing. And it keeps your blood moving all throughout your body in a circuit. And that's that. This is also me drinking a little juice box, what I do when I listen very carefully. Moving on. So, Remember how I talked about these pockets up here, the atriums? When we refer to them, two of them at the same time, we call them the atria. It's basically just a fancy medical way of addressing both atriums at the same time. The right atrium receives deoxygenated blood from the body through the superior. So remember we said the superior vena cava is at the top. That's why it's superior. And the inferior vena cava, that's the one on the bottom. That's why it's the inferior vena cava. This one gets the oxygenated blood coming from the lungs through the pulmonary vein. Let's just recap. Right atrium, left atrium. Deoxygenated blood, that means it has no oxygen in it, comes from the superior vena cava, comes in this little atrium right here. And it also comes through the inferior vena cava, okay? Then the left atrium gets the oxygenated blood. So this is going to be blood that has oxygen in it. It comes from the lungs through the pulmonary vein. There has to be some sort of exchange because the blood that's in here that's deoxygenated has to become oxygenated somehow. But where is it going to go? How is it going to get out of here? Well, let's find out. Let's talk about the valves. So there are these little things over here, and it looks like they do things like open and close. Think of the valves as gates. The blood does not get through if the valves do not open. And if the blood is stuck up here in the atriums, how is it supposed to get down into the ventricles? Well, that's where the valves come in. Let's talk first about the tricuspid. The tricuspid is right here, and it opens up right here. Now, what this valve does, this is going to help backflow of the blood from the ventricle to the atrium. So what that means is when the blood is sitting up here in the atrium and it goes down into the valve, we obviously don't want that blood to go right back up into the atrium. So in order to prevent that from happening, you don't want the blood just kind of swishing back and forth for no reason. When it gets down into the ventricle here, the tricuspid valve opens to allow it, but then it closes so that it cannot flow back up. That's pretty much it. That's what the tricuspid valve does. It just opens on one area and then it closes and it will not let it flow back up. Then we have our mitral valve. The mitral valve, which is also called the bicuspid valve, this does the same thing as the tricuspid valve. It just does it on the other side. This prevents the backflow of the ventricle into the atrium. So basically, these valves here, they prevent backflow into the atriums. Now, two other valves. We have our pulmonary valve. This valve is right here. This is a pulmonary vein. So right here at the edge is the pulmonary valve. And this is going to prevent any blood that flows this way from pumping back into the ventricle. This one right here is going to do the same thing that this one's going to do. It's going to prevent any blood that gets pumped up here from coming right back down. So this valve is opened to let the blood flow in, and as soon as it's in, it closes so that the blood can flow back out. And guess what? This valve, the aortic valve, it does the same exact thing. It's going to prevent the flowing back into the ventricle after it's been pushed forward into the rest of the body. So as you can see, the valves, their main purpose is to prevent backflow. Whatever blood is pumped forward, we don't want it to come falling back. And so these valves are here so that that doesn't happen. So that anything that gets pumped forward stays where it's supposed to go and follows the proper path it's supposed to take without backflowing. Now, let's talk about these cute little ventricles down here because we talked about the atriums up here. We talked about the valves right here. And now, I don't want to leave the poor ventricles with no love and no attention. We have the right ventricle and the left ventricle, easy peasy. Remember how the atriums pumped deoxygenated blood and oxygenated blood down into the proper areas for gas exchange. The right ventricle pumps deoxygenated blood to the lungs through the pulmonary artery, which is down here. The left ventricle pumps the oxygenated blood to the rest of the body through the aorta. Ventricle 1, ventricle 2, deoxygenated blood, deoxygenated blood, oxygenated blood, oxygenated blood. Are we starting to get it yet? Now you might be asking, why are we sending deoxygenated blood to the lungs? Well, that's because that's where the gas exchange is going to happen. That's where the deoxygenated blood is going to come to the lungs and it's going to turn into oxygenated blood. And then guess where it goes when it leaves the lungs? It comes right back here. Remember when I said think of the heart as the nerve center? The deoxygenated blood that comes through from the body is going to go into the heart and it's going to get pumped through to the lungs. When it gets to the lungs, it's going to turn into oxygenated blood. And then what do the lungs do? They come right back to the heart. Here's where the oxygenated blood is. And then the heart goes, okay, cool. You gave me the proper amount of oxygen. Now I'm going to take this blood and I'm going to send it to the rest of the body. Let's get to now the arteries and the veins. Let's talk about the outside. Let's talk about these, the arteries and the veins, because the heart has its own blood supply. All of the blood in your body has to pass through the heart in order for it to get to the rest of the body. So this is kind of like the big stopping point. This is the $200 collection in the Go tab on Monopoly. The coronary arteries are the ones that are going to deliver the oxygenated blood into the muscle. They are going to carry it to the heart. The coronary veins are the ones that take the deoxygenated blood, carry it away. Because their main goal is to take that deoxygenated blood and send it to the lungs so that the lungs can oxygenate it and then send it back. The heart's main job is to pump blood. That's it. It take blood in, it pump blood out. It take blood in, it pump blood out. Given everything that I just told you, are you beginning to understand why it's so important to make sure that your heart is healthy? Taking care of your heart is the most important thing that you can do in order to maintain overall health. It pumps blood and delivers things like oxygen, which is the main thing, nutrients, and all the essential substances to all the various tissues and the organs in your body. So not just the organs need blood. Things like tissue, which make up your organs, also need blood. So how do we prioritize heart health? Well, exercise, a good diet. Make sure that your weight is not too ridiculous. No smoking, and manage your stress. I just need you guys to understand how important it is to take care of your heart. And if you don't take care of it, you're going to put the rest of your body at risk. And so that is my wonderful presentation. Thanks for listening. Hearts are important. So take care of yours or else. Because if you don't, I'm going to beat you all up. That won't be good for your heart either. I really adore every single one of you. Thank you so much for today. Thank you for being as wonderful as you always are. And as always, I love you so much. Mwah. Take my love and my light with you. Kiss your pets and your loved ones for me. And don't forget to stay sexy. That part is really, really important. Okay, bye.